The forest was quieter than I expected. Only the faint rustle of leaves, the occasional snap of a twig, and the hum of something unseen drifting through the fog. I remember walking along the moonlit trail, the pale light bouncing off the mist, casting shadows that felt alive. My breath hung in the cold night air, and every step forward seemed to echo in the emptiness around me. I thought I was alone. Sure, I always thought that. But the deeper I walked, the heavier the silence became. Sometimes I'd catch a flicker of movement, just at the corner of my eye, something that disappeared as soon as I looked directly at it. There was a smell, faint and earthy, like moss, and something burned far off in the distance that made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. And then I heard it, a soft humming, almost like someone singing, yet no words. I froze, heart pounding, because it didn't come from the trail itself, but from somewhere within the trees, somewhere I couldn't reach. My flashlight flickered, the beam struggling through the fog, and I could swear the shadows were moving with intent, not randomly. That's when I saw it. The trail begins under a pale, hesitant light. Fog curls around the trees, soft fingers brushing the ground. Each step presses into damp earth. Alone, but not really. A rustle drifts through the branches. Too quick to follow, too still to name. The wind carries it, words I can almost hear. Whispers, curling and slipping around my ankles. I pause. The trail stretches ahead, empty. The whispers vanish when I blink. A shadow flickers between the trunks, almost human, almost not. I hold my breath, waiting for it to resolve. It doesn't. The forest feels aware, watching. Every leaf quivers, though the air barely moves. The fog presses closer, cool on my skin. Every footstep is muffled, swallowed by the hush. I think I hear soft footsteps behind me, or maybe the echo of my own. The wind shifts, carrying a faint hum. It hums low. I feel it in my chest. It doesn't belong to me. The branches sway, but the air is still. I see movement in the corner of my eye. A pale shape slipping behind a tree. I turn. Nothing. Only fog. The whispers return. Quieter this time, like someone leaning close, barely breathing. Words I can't catch. My ears strain. My skin tingles. I step forward. The leaves underfoot whisper back, each one cracking like fragile paper. I wonder if they're trying to warn me, or just marking the path I've taken. A shadow brushes across the trail again, this time slower, dragging. It waits. Or maybe it walks with me. I can't tell. The forest hums in a rhythm I don't recognize. The fog clings tighter to my clothes. A damp smell rises from the earth, rich and ancient. I feel it settle in my throat. I swallow, but the taste lingers. A pause. The whispers fade. The shadow vanishes. Even the wind stills. I feel the forest breathe around me, and I am part of that breathing, whether I want to be or not. I take another step. The air is heavier here, thicker. Something brushes my arm. I jerk back. Nothing. But the cold lingers. I am aware of it in every finger, every hair. I hear a faint rustle above. Leaves shaking without wind. A flicker in the fog. I glance up, heart slow. Nothing moves. Only the pale, stretching light that makes shadows dance in impossible ways. I pause again. The trail narrows. The whispering returns, but farther now. Soft, playful almost. Like it's guiding me, or leading me somewhere I shouldn't go. I breathe in the fog. It tastes of damp wood and something older. Something patient. The forest waits with me. Patient. A shadow crosses behind me. No sound this time. Only a movement that lingers in my peripheral vision. I blink. It's gone. I wonder if it was ever there at all. The trail stretches onward. The whispers fade. The leaves settle. The fog thickens at the edges of my sight. And I walk, step by careful step. Alone, but not quite alone. Moonlight struggles through thick fog. It presses against the trees, pale and trembling. The ground is damp beneath my feet. Each step sinks slightly, sucking at my shoes. A flicker of light shifts between trunks, soft, unsteady. I pause. It vanishes when I breathe, then returns further ahead. I move closer. The fog curls around my legs, cold and wet. The light retreats, slipping behind branches. I feel the air tighten, pressing against my chest. Shadows stretch unnaturally. A tree leans where it shouldn't. Its branches twist like fingers. I blink, but the shapes bend again. A faint laugh drifts on the wind. Childlike yet wrong. I shiver, tasting iron in my mouth. The fog swirls in response, alive. I step forward carefully, each footfall pressed into soft moss. The light flickers again, near but never still. I feel it in my skin, heat and cold at once. The trees shift in the corner of my eye. They stretch taller, thinner. I hear static like electricity brushing leaves. It hums low underneath everything. The laugh returns, distant, playful, hollow. I can't tell if it circles me or waits ahead. I hold my breath. The fog thickens, pressing against my face. The light flickers faster. A pulse, a heartbeat through the mist. I move closer, but it slips away, teasing. The world tilts. Shadows elongate, reaching for me. A faint rustle brushes my arm. I freeze. The air smells damp and ancient. A leaf sticks to my neck, cold. I wonder if I imagined the movement or if something really passed. The light lingers just ahead now, soft, flickering. It casts strange shapes on the trees. They bend unnaturally, impossibly. I notice every detail, every shadow stretching, reaching. The laugh is closer, quieter, just at the edge of hearing. I tilt my head trying to place it. But it moves with the fog, out of reach. I step forward. The ground is slick, leaves clinging to my shoes. The fog curls higher, brushing my face. I taste moisture in the air, iron-tinged and cold. The light flickers one last time, then vanishes. The trees are still. The fog settles, heavy and quiet. The laugh drifts away, softer now. Gone, almost like it never existed. I am alone, but I feel its absence. The emptiness pressing against my chest, I walk slowly. The moonlight barely reaches me now. Fog wraps around my shoulders. I hear the faint hum of the forest settling. The trail stretches ahead, silent, waiting. I take another step, and the forest breathes around me, cold, quiet. I am aware of every leaf, every shadow, every pulse of the fog, and then nothing. Only the soft flicker of memory in the mist. A trail left behind by something that wasn't there. The trail narrows as I walk. Fog curls low around gnarled roots. Moonlight falls in pale shards. Every step presses into damp soil, soft and yielding. Ahead, a massive oak rises from the earth, its trunk wide, ancient. I notice a hum, almost soothing, vibrating through the air. It brushes against my chest, gentle at first. I pause beneath its branches. The hum shifts, subtle at first, then colder. It touches the edges of my mind, a quiet warning. Leaves stir without wind. The air is still heavy with damp. A brush against my arm. Something light, almost a caress. I shiver. The bark is rough beneath my fingers. I trace its contours. The hum deepens, low and resonant. It hums through the roots, through the ground. I feel it in my feet, in my pulse. I breathe slowly. The forest waits with me, silent, watching. The shadows stretch toward the oak as if drawn by the sound. I step closer. The hum changes tone, chilling now, slipping under my ribs. Leaves tremble along branches that sway without air. I smell earth and wet bark, something ancient hidden beneath. A movement brushes my shoulder. Not wind, not leaf. Soft, deliberate. I flinch, tasting metal in my mouth. The hum pulses again, low and steady. I move around the tree. Its massive branches claw the fog. The shadows ripple with each flicker of moonlight. I feel the tree breathe, and the hum rises with it. The air tightens. The forest grows still. Even the fog holds its breath. The hum stretches, folding over itself, echoing in the hollow of my chest. I rest a hand on the trunk. Cold, damp, and alive. The hum throbs beneath my fingers. Comfort turns to unease. The rhythm becomes irregular, unsettling. A leaf drifts down, brushing my cheek. I taste the damp forest on my tongue. The hum shifts again, higher, sharper. It's aware of me. Or maybe it's always been. I step back. The hum fades to a distant whisper. Leaves still rustle, though no breeze moves them. The fog settles against my shoulders. I feel the weight of the forest pressing close. The oak towers above me. Silent now, except for faint, fading vibrations. I walk slowly around it. Every step echoes in the hush. The forest exhales. I glance once more at the massive trunk. The hum is gone. Only shadows remain, stretching, waiting. The fog clings to my clothes as I continue down the trail. Soft footsteps follow my own, but only in memory. The air tastes of wet bark and stillness. I breathe it in. Alone but not quite alone. The oak watches, patient, as I disappear into the fog. The trail narrows beneath a pale, hesitant light. Fog curls around my ankles, damp and heavy. Each step presses into soft earth. Alone, but not quite. Shadows cling to the edges of the path, stretching long, darker than the fog. I notice them moving, subtly, though I am the only one here. Each flicker matches the pace of my breath. The air smells of wet leaves, moss, and something older. A shiver slides down my spine. I feel it in my shoulders, pressing, heavy. The fog swallows the sound of my footsteps. They are quiet now, distant even to me. I glance at the shadows. They ripple and sway, waiting. Each seems to have its own rhythm, its own pulse. They mimic me, yet they are not me. I hesitate. The trees lean closer, skeletal fingers brushing the fog. It folds around my legs, clinging. The shadows deepen in the corners of my eyes. I feel them brushing my vision. Always there, just beyond clarity. A soft rustle, leaves shifting without wind. Something touches my arm. Cold. Fragile. I flinch, tasting damp earth in my mouth. The fog thickens, pressing against my chest. Every breath tastes heavier, metallic. The shadows wait, patient, stretching along the trail. They curve toward me, retreat when I look directly. I step carefully. The ground is slick beneath my shoes. Each step echoes in the fog, though no sound reaches my ears. The trail narrows further. Shadows grow taller, leaning closer. I try to steady my pulse. The rhythm of my heart clashes with the rhythm of the shadows. A soft hum rises through the fog. It vibrates against my ribs. I taste iron and moss on my tongue. The trail bends. Shadows twist, elongate, folding over one another. They are not static. They breathe with the fog. I feel their gaze everywhere on my skin. A pause. Silence. Even the fog seems to hold its breath. And then they move again. Slow, deliberate, patient. I am alone, but I am not. I glance behind me. Nothing. Only thick fog, curling like smoke. The shadows linger at the edges, watching. I take another step. My hand brushes a tree trunk. Rough, damp, alive in the quiet. The shadows ripple. They fold around the trunk, mimicking me once more. I inhale, tasting wet bark, old earth, and cold air. The fog presses my shoulders, muffling everything. The shadows wait, still, patient, unyielding. The path stretches ahead. Shadows cling to every corner, moving subtly in silence. I continue, slow, careful, pressing through the fog. Each footstep swallowed by the mist. Alone, but aware of every movement beside me. A soft exhale from the forest brushes my neck. Leaves shiver in place, though the air is still. The shadows fold back, letting me pass. But I know they are still there. I step forward. The fog hugs my legs, the earth beneath me soft and damp. The trail stretches onward, and I walk. Alone, but never truly alone. The fog hangs low, heavy against the trees. Moonlight pierces it in pale streaks, trembling over the damp earth. The trail feels narrower here. Each step presses into soft soil. Alone, but aware of every rustle. Between the trunks, I see it. A figure, pale, still, silent. It doesn't move. Doesn't breathe. I stop. My pulse is loud in my ears. The fog curls around my ankles, damp and cold. The forest holds its breath with me. I take a step closer. The figure remains unmoving. Its shape blurs with the fog, edges fading in pale light. I notice nothing else moves. No leaves, no shadows, only it. I reach out, curious. The air tastes of wet bark and earth. I feel a chill brush my skin. A leaf sticks to my shoulder. The figure is gone. Where it stood, the earth is disturbed. Footprints appear, fresh, but I didn't see them before. Small, deliberate, fading into the mist. I kneel, brushing the fog aside. The cold soil clings to my fingers. I rise slowly. The forest hums faintly, alive in stillness. Shadows stretch toward the empty space where it vanished. The trail seems longer, darker. I feel a presence lingering, patient, watching. The fog curls around my legs again. I inhale, tasting iron and damp leaves. Every sound is softened. My own breathing feels amplified in the hush. I walk carefully along the trail. The footprints follow, yet vanish if I glance directly. The air is still. Only the faint hum of the forest and my pulse mark the rhythm of movement. The figure does not return, yet I feel its gaze, a brush against the edges of perception. The forest exhales with me, heavy, silent. Each shadow stretches toward the trail, reaching but holding. I continue, slow, careful, aware of every leaf, every mist-wrapped branch. The moonlight trembles across the ground. The footprints linger in my memory. The air tastes damp and metallic, carrying the faint hum through my chest. I glance behind me. Nothing moves. The forest is patient. The fog folds in soft layers around the trail. I step forward. A soft exhale brushes my neck. I imagine movement behind the pale mist. The figure may have been real, or a trick of light and fog. I cannot tell. The trail stretches ahead. Shadows and fog twist slowly. Footsteps echo faintly in my mind. I walk alone, yet not entirely. The forest watches, and I move forward, step by cautious step into the waiting dark. The trail winds tighter beneath the pale moonlight. Fog presses against my legs, wet and cold. Each step sinks softly into damp soil. Alone, or so I think. Then, footsteps. Soft, echoing mine. They quicken, then slow, stop, start. A rhythm that is not my own. I freeze. The fog clings to my shoulders, heavy, damp. The air smells of wet leaves and earth. My pulse beats loud in the hush. I spin, flashlight cutting through fog. Nothing moves. No shape, no shadow. Only the trail, stretching pale and empty. I step forward. The footsteps follow, echoing, uncertain. Faster. Slower. Pausing. Waiting. I taste cold in my mouth. My fingers brush damp leaves. The trail twists beneath tall, skeletal trees. Shadows lean, stretching longer than they should. I glance to the periphery. A shadow shifts. Gone if I focus. I inhale, the air damp and metallic. The footsteps continue, faint, patient, insistent. I move faster. The fog swirls, curling around my legs and ankles. Every step feels measured against something unseen. I stop. Footsteps pause. The forest holds its breath with me. A rustle brushes past, soft, deliberate. Someone is moving just out of reach. I shine the flashlight, swaying the beam. The fog flickers with pale light. No figure stands there, only shifting shadows. I feel eyes pressing from the mist. The footsteps start again. Slower, deliberate. Matching mine, then differing, teasing. I taste iron in the damp air. Every nerve hums in the hush. I glance behind. Nothing, just fog. Just the trail curling between trees. Yet I feel it there. The presence that moves with me. Leaves shiver without wind. Branches scratch the fog. A soft exhale brushes my cheek. Footsteps pause. Then resume, irregular, teasing, patient. I walk cautiously. The beam trembles across twisted trunks. Shadows ripple at the edges. The trail stretches forward, empty yet alive. The forest waits with every breath I take. I step again. Footsteps echo. Faint but distinct. Faster, slower, stopping, starting. I feel the weight of something unseen brushing my spine. The fog thickens, swallowing sound. The trail bends. Shadows shift, folding into the mist. The footsteps fade. Slightly, not gone, only patient. Waiting. I move forward, careful, soft. The trail hums with quiet anticipation. The forest exhales, still and heavy. I continue alone. But not alone. The trail dips toward a shallow hollow. Fog drifts low, curling around roots and fallen leaves. The air smells damp, earthy, and something faintly metallic. A soft rustle comes from the hollow itself. Leaves stir, though no wind moves them. I step closer, careful, feeling the soil cold and uneven beneath my shoes. Tiny lights dart above the hollow. Not fireflies. They flicker in strange, deliberate patterns, watching me. The pale glow brushes my face, soft and unsettling. I kneel near the edge. The hollow seems alive, breathing with the forest. I feel vibration through my fingertips, faint, almost a hum. A shiver slides down my spine. The fog swirls, curling around my legs. Leaves shift and twist with no breeze. I taste damp earth and faint ash on my tongue. The lights dart closer, retreating when I blink. A whisper rises from the hollow, soft, undulating teasing. I strain to hear, but words are lost in breath and mist. The hollow seems to pulse with its own rhythm. I step back, soft footsteps pressed into wet soil. The lights flicker, floating just beyond reach. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the hollow walls. I feel the air tighten, pressing against my chest. The rustling grows, layers of movement overlapping. A leaf brushes my cheek. The hum under the ground resonates in my feet. The tiny lights circle, observing, patient, unyielding. I breathe slowly, tasting damp wood and iron. The hollow exhales with the fog. Every shadow seems to lean closer. The earth vibrates beneath my hands. I move along the edge, careful. The lights follow, then vanish when I glance directly. The rustling continues, restless, alive. I feel a weight pressing at the back of my mind. A soft exhale of air brushes my neck. Leaves tremble, hovering just above the soil. The hollow hums faintly, a rhythm in sync with my heartbeat. I step away, pulling fog and shadows with me. The lights retreat toward the depths. The hollow settles into silence. But the feeling lingers, the pulse beneath the soil. The forest exhales around me, patient, alive. I rise fully, brushing soil from my palms. The trail stretches onward, pale in the fog. The hollow watches in stillness. I walk slowly, aware of every leaf, every shadow. Alone, but not quite alone. The trail opens into a small clearing. Moonlight filters through bare branches. It catches on the moss, turning it silvery green, soft and damp beneath my fingers. I kneel, brushing the moss with my palm. It smells of earth and rain, ancient and alive. Patterns form beneath the pale light, shapes, deliberate, as if tracing a message I cannot read. The fog curls low, winding around my knees. Every breath tastes of damp leaves and cold air. A faint hum rises from the ground, subtle and steady. I feel watched. The moss shifts under my touch, soft and pliant. Shadows stretch across the clearing, twisting with the moonlight. The shapes seem to respond, elongating, folding into strange forms. I pause, hand hovering, sensing rhythm in the silence. A leaf brushes my cheek, carried by no wind. I inhale, tasting damp earth and something metallic. The hum grows slightly, vibrating in the soles of my feet. I sense a presence hovering at the edges of my vision. The patterns in the moss feel deliberate. Curving, spiraling, like words in a forgotten language. I trace them lightly with a fingertip. The moss shivers, soft and alive. The fog presses closer, gentle, patient. I glance around the clearing. Shadows bend toward me, drawn by the light. A soft rustle of leaves echoes quietly, lingering in the hush. I am alone, yet aware of every movement in the silence. The moonlight shimmers, reflecting off wet surfaces. The shapes in the moss seem to pulse with it. I feel a soft pressure in my chest, a rhythm shared with the earth. The forest exhales, holding me in quiet tension. I kneel fully, resting my hands on the moss. The patterns twist subtly, shifting under my gaze. A faint vibration hums through the ground. I breathe it in, tasting cold stone and damp soil. Soft shadows ripple across the clearing. The fog curls higher, brushing my shoulders. I feel watched, measured, but not threatened. The moss, the light, the fog, they move together, patient and ancient. I rise slowly, brushing damp leaves from my hands. The patterns linger in memory, pale and deliberate. The moonlight fades as clouds drift, dimming the silvery green. I step forward, careful, feeling the ground soft beneath my feet. The clearing exhales. Shadows retreat slightly, folding into the fog. The forest waits. I walk on, aware of every leaf, every pulse beneath the earth. Alone but held by something patient, ancient, and watching. The trail narrows beneath a thickening fog. Moonlight trembles over twisted branches. The ground is soft, damp, and uneven beneath my feet. Alone, though the forest feels full. A soft hum rises in my ears, like static on an old radio. It weaves through the silence, low and insistent. I press my fingers to my temples, tasting cold metal in the air. Shadows bend in the corners of my vision. Trees twist unnaturally, branches stretching, folding, reaching. I blink. The shapes shift again, folding over themselves. The fog presses closer, brushing my legs and shoulders. Every step echoes faintly, swallowed by the mist. The silence is loud, heavier than the hum. I inhale damp earth and fallen leaves filling my senses. A leaf flutters across my hand, though no wind moves it. The hum pulses gently, a rhythm under my skull. Branches twist above, forming shapes I almost recognize. I feel a presence moving just beyond perception. Soft, patient, waiting. I move forward slowly. The fog wraps around me, clinging to my ankles. The static grows subtle and disturbing. I taste damp stone and something faintly metallic. The trees lean closer. Shadows ripple across the trail. The hum folds into the silence. It is part of the forest now, patient and watchful. I step carefully. Footsteps soft, absorbed by the moss and fog. Every leaf shivers underfoot, trembling without wind. The static hums again, pulsing through my chest. A shadow shifts in the periphery. Slow, deliberate. I turn. Nothing moves. Only the forest breathing around me. The silence stretches, heavy, alive. Branches scratch the fog, curling softly. The hum fades slightly, lingering in memory. I feel the ground beneath me pulse with quiet rhythm. I walk onward. The trail stretches pale in the fog. Every breath tastes damp and cold. The static remains faint, inside my ears and under my skin. Shadows lean, folding into themselves. Trees twist slowly, impossibly, as though watching. The fog curls against my shoulders. The forest exhales, patient, unhurried. I step forward. The silence swells. The hum merges with the mist. I am aware of every leaf, every shadow, every faint vibration underfoot. The trail stretches ahead. The forest waits with quiet persistence. I walk slowly, measured, aware, alone. Yet not alone. The trail narrows unexpectedly. Fog coils around the roots and fallen leaves. I stumble over soil that feels unfamiliar beneath my feet. The air is damp, heavy, tasting faintly of smoke. A path I do not remember appears before me. Markers carved into bark catch the pale moonlight. Strange shapes, deliberate and old. The forest holds its breath, silent and patient. I step lightly along the trail. Soft footsteps press into moss and earth. Every rustle of leaves echoes in the fog. I inhale the cold air, metallic and damp. The markers seem to guide me. Curving, spiraling, their edges worn by time. The fog thickens, curling around my legs and shoulders. I feel a presence waiting just ahead. Leaves tremble without wind. Branches lean closer, shadows stretching over the path. I taste damp soil on my tongue. A faint hum rises beneath the ground, subtle, insistent. I pause, hand brushing a carved marker. Its edges are rough, cold against my palm. The scent of smoke grows stronger. It lingers, soft and elusive. I feel drawn forward, hesitant but compelled. The fog thickens further. Shadows fold into themselves along the trail. Each step seems slower, heavier. The path curves, disappearing into deeper mist. I glance around. The forest is silent but alive. Soft whispers brush the edges of hearing. I feel breath against my neck, though I am alone. The markers continue, guiding me. Shapes in the bark twist unnaturally in the pale light. I kneel briefly, touching the ground. Cold, damp, alive under my fingertips. A soft rustle moves through the fog. Something waits at the end of the trail. I sense it before I see it. Patient, silent, aware of each step I take. The air tastes of smoke and wet leaves. Shadows stretch and fold along the edges of perception. The fog presses against me, gentle, persistent. I move forward slowly, aware of every breath, every sound. The path narrows again. Markers twist toward something unseen. I feel the forest's pulse beneath my feet. The presence grows nearer, patient and waiting. I step carefully, leaving soft footprints in damp moss. The fog curls higher, brushing my face and shoulders. The forest exhales around me, quiet and ancient. I sense eyes on me, waiting at the trail's end. The path disappears into deeper shadows. The markers fade, blending into bark and fog. I walk onward slow, deliberate. Alone, but aware of something following, something waiting. The trail stretches into silence. The fog folds into itself. The forest watches patiently, and I move forward, step by step, into the forgotten path. The trail narrows beneath pale moonlight. Fog drifts low, brushing my ankles and legs. Each step presses softly into wet earth. Alone, yet aware of every rustle. Pairs of eyes reflect my flashlight from high in the trees. Still, bright, unblinking. They flicker in the shadows, moving without sound. I blink. They vanish if I stare too long. Branches twist overhead, unnatural in shape. Leaves tremble without wind. The air tastes damp and earthy, metallic at the edges. A soft hum seems to rise beneath my feet. I pause. The flashlight beam sweeps slowly across the trunks. Shadows shift around me, folding and stretching. I feel the forest's gaze pressing close, patient, waiting. A branch brushes my shoulder. Cold, wet, alive. The eyes reappear, higher, farther back, always just at the edge of sight. I inhale slowly, tasting damp moss and the faint smoke of distant fires. The fog curls around my legs. Footsteps press softly into moss and leaf litter. Not mine, not entirely. The eyes track, silent and patient, vanishing when confronted directly. I move forward, careful, pressing soft fingers against the rough bark. The forest exhales, heavy and deliberate. Shadows bend and fold at the edges of the fog. The hum beneath my feet persists, low and resonant. I glance up again. Pairs of eyes blink in memory only, then disappear. Branches lean, casting shapes that seem almost deliberate. The fog clings closer, brushing my face and shoulders. Leaves rustle softly, though no wind moves them. I taste damp earth and cold stone. The eyes appear again, reflecting light like distant stars. They are patient, watching, waiting. I step forward slowly, each movement measured. Footsteps echo softly in the fog, overlapping my own. The shadows fold and stretch. I feel them pressing just beyond perception, around the trail. The forest exhales with every step. The eyes vanish and return, silent and knowing. The branches twist in rhythm with the fog. Every breath tastes damp, metallic, ancient. I walk carefully. The trail stretches into muted moonlight. Shadows ripple softly, edges curling in the fog. The pairs of eyes remain, always just beyond clear sight. I move onward, slow, aware of every leaf, every shadow, every pulse of the forest. Alone, yet the forest watches. The eyes wait. And I step forward, measured into the silence. The trail dips toward a hollow. Fog curls low, brushing my ankles and legs. The air smells damp and earthy, tinged with something faintly sweet. A low hum drifts from the hollow, melodic, soft, almost a whisper in my chest. I pause, listening. The fog swirls around me, thick and gentle. Soft shapes move within the mist. Figures dancing silently, fleeting and light. I blink. They vanish, leaving only fog and shadows behind. I step closer. The ground is cold, damp beneath my shoes. Leaves tremble without wind. The hum continues, threading through the silence. Branches lean overhead, their shadows stretching across the hollow. I taste cold earth and wet leaves on my tongue. A figure appears, then folds into the mist. The fog presses closer, brushing my shoulders. I kneel slightly, feeling the hollow pulse beneath me. Soft vibrations hum through the soil. The air smells of moss and faint smoke. Figures flicker at the edge of sight, patient, teasing. I rise slowly. The hollow hums in rhythm with my heartbeat. Shadows fold and twist along the edges of fog. I sense presence in the mist, gentle but insistent. Leaves rustle softly under my touch. Figures dance just beyond clear vision. I taste damp wood and metal in the cold air. The hum threads through my chest, low and melodic. I step forward carefully. Footsteps soft against wet earth. The fog swirls, revealing movement, then folding the figures back into silence. The hollow watches, patient, mystical, ancient. Branches bend in the pale light, tracing shapes in the fog.
The hum rises slightly, entwined with the pulse of the earth. I feel breath on my neck, though no wind moves. Figures flicker, teasing, always just beyond focus. I walk slowly, measured, aware of each leaf, each shadow, each whisper of the hollow. The fog presses gently, enveloping, alive. The hum fades into memory, leaving only a soft vibration in the chest. Figures vanish completely when I blink. The hollow exhales, quiet, patient, ancient. The trail stretches forward, soft and pale beneath fog and moonlight. I step along carefully, touching moss and wet leaves. Alone, yet carried by something mystical and observing. Shadows fold around me. The fog curls like smoke. The hollow hums faintly beneath the soil. I move forward, slow, deliberate, into silence. The trail disappears into thick fog. Each step presses softly into damp earth. The air tastes cold, metallic, and heavy. Alone, yet something moves with me. Fresh footprints appear ahead. Soft impressions. In the wet soil, they lead deeper into shadow and mist. I follow carefully, feeling the chill crawl up my spine. Fog curls around my ankles, brushing wet leaves. Shapes flit at the edges of vision. I shine the flashlight. They vanish instantly, leaving only shifting shadows behind. The air grows colder. Breath fogs before my face. The footprints continue, patient, deliberate. Every step echoes softly, absorbed by the damp forest floor. I pause. A leaf brushes my hand, though no wind moves it. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the trail. The fog folds over itself, thick and soft. I move forward slowly, fingertips brushing moss and rough bark. The footprints guide me deeper into the unknown. The cold presses against my skin, damp and insistent. Shapes flit just beyond the beam of light, teasing, unreachable. I inhale slowly, tasting earth and faint decay. Branches lean close overhead, shadows folding with the fog. The footprints continue, each step echoing a rhythm not my own. I feel watched, though nothing is there. The fog thickens, curling higher around my legs. Shadows ripple along the trail. Bending without wind, a soft hum rises beneath my feet, subtle and insistent. The shapes in the mist vanish when I focus, returning when I relax. I step carefully, following the prints into deeper darkness. Leaves shiver underfoot, silent, patient. The forest exhales slowly, heavy and deliberate. Every breath tastes cold. Metallic, damp shapes shift in the fog, fleeting and deliberate. The footprints guide me further, deeper into shadow. I sense presence in the mist, gentle but insistent. The air grows denser, pressing against my chest and shoulders. I pause, kneeling. Briefly, feeling the soft soil beneath my palm. The footprints remain patient, leading onward. The fog curls around my face, soft, alive. The forest waits, silent, observing. Ancient dot-eye rise slowly, brushing wet leaves from my hands. The trail stretches forward, pale in fog and faint moonlight. Shapes vanish and return at the periphery. I walk onward, aware of every leaf, every shadow, every breath. The footprints fade slightly, merging with the mist. The forest exhales around me, patient, waiting. I step carefully, slow, deliberate, into the darkness ahead. Alone, yet not alone. The trail widens into a small clearing. Fog drifts low, curling around tree roots and damp leaves. Each step presses softly into moss and wet earth. Alone, yet the forest feels patient, waiting. A lantern hangs from a branch. No rope, no hook, only it suspended in air. The flame flickers toward me, slow, deliberate, as if breathing. Its light casts shadows that stretch and curl like hands. I, Pause. The air smells faintly of smoke and wet wood. The fog brushes my ankles and fingers. The lantern sways gently, independent of any wind. Shadows ripple across the clearing. Branches fold toward the lantern, stretching in rhythm with its movement. I taste cold metal and damp earth in the air. The light flares slightly, then dims, pulsating softly. I step closer, careful. Soft footsteps press into moss and soil. The lantern's flame leans again, as if inhaling. Shadows lengthen, curling along the fogged ground. The air feels alive. Branches bend overhead, edges brushing my face. I inhale slowly, tasting smoke and something faintly metallic. The lantern sways toward me again, gentle, patient. I reach out lightly. The fog curls around my fingers. The flame flares in response, breathing, alive. Shadows stretch higher, folding over themselves across the clearing. I step back, careful, feeling the cold dampness of the earth. The lantern sways slowly, light spilling across pale moss. The fog presses closer, brushing my shoulders. I sense a presence, patient, observing, waiting. Soft rustling echoes through the clearing. Leaves tremble without wind. The flame bends, dancing, teasing, almost sentient. I taste damp stone and cold air, breath shallow and measured. I move forward slowly, each step measured and deliberate. The lantern swings gently, shadows stretching, curling, alive. Fog coils around the trees, brushing my legs and arms. I sense eyes in the darkness, patient, waiting. I pause beneath the lantern. Its flame flickers against my skin, pale and warm. Shadows press closer, folding along the fogged ground. The clearing exhales softly, the forest breathing around me. I step carefully onward. The lantern continues to sway, flame leaning toward me, patient, deliberate. Shadows fold and stretch in rhythm with fog and light. The forest waits, ancient, quiet, watching. The trail stretches forward beyond the clearing. Footsteps soft against moss and leaves. The lantern hangs still in the fog, flame pulsating gently. I walk onward, aware of every shadow, every breath. Every rustle, alone, but the clearing remains alive. The lantern sways softly in the mist. Shadows stretch, folding slowly into silence. I move forward, step by step, into the waiting darkness. The trail opens onto a still lake. Mist rolls across the surface, curling and folding over itself. The air is cold, damp, smelling of wet stone and pine. Alone, yet the water feels aware. I step closer to the edge. Soft footsteps press into moss and mud. The surface glimmers under pale moonlight. My reflection wavers, shifting unnaturally. I kneel slightly, hand brushing the cold water. Ripples distort my image. Something moves beneath the surface, just out of reach. I taste damp earth and cold. Air on my tongue. Fog drifts across my face, brushing my shoulders. The water exhales slowly, silent, deliberate. Shadows fold at the edges, creeping along the mist. The reflection shimmers again, as if breathing. I rise carefully. The lake stretches endlessly in muted silver and shadow. Soft ripples trace patterns that vanish instantly. I feel breath on my neck, though the air is still. Mist curls around my legs. brushing cold and damp. Shapes flit beneath the surface, fleeting, teasing. The reflections smile slightly, a twist I did not make. The forest exhales around me, patient and ancient. I step closer to the water. Leaves tremble, though no wind moves them. The ripples distort. Shadows in strange, deliberate patterns. The air tastes metallic, heavy, damp. I kneel again, fingertips brushing the cold surface. Something moves beneath, shifting just out of touch. The reflection ripples unnaturally, folding light and shadow. Together, the mist curls higher, soft, alive, watching. I rise slowly, careful, every movement measured. The lake waits silently. Shadows stretch along the water, folding into the fog. The reflection stares, patient, observing, alive. I step back, cold moss, pressing into my shoes. The mist folds around me, soft, insistent. The lake exhales quietly, the surface trembling slightly. I walk onward along the trail, aware of every breath, every shadow, every ripple. The water glimmers one last time in pale moonlight. Shapes beneath vanish beneath shifting fog. The reflection fades to normal, calm, still. Yet the lake feels alive, patient and waiting. I move forward, careful and deliberate. The fog curls, brushing my face and arms. Shadows fold slowly along the edge of perception. I step away from the mirror lake, leaving ripples and silence behind. The trail narrows, winding through dense moss and low-hanging branches. Fog drifts, in gentle curls, brushing wet leaves and cold stone. The air smells damp, earthy, with a faint tinge of smoke. Alone, yet the forest feels watchful. Symbols carved into moss-catch pale light. They glow faintly, soft and green, pulsing like a quiet heartbeat. I kneel, fingertips brushing the damp moss. The symbols thrum gently beneath my touch, subtle and insistent. A rustle drifts from above. Branches sway, though no wind moves them. The air brushes my cheeks, cold and still. I taste damp wood and soil, and something faintly metallic. I trace the edges of the symbols slowly. They pulse again, echoing through the fingertips. Shadows shift at the corners of vision. The fog curls closer, brushing my ankles and arms. A faint hum rises, threading through the silence. Leaves quiver softly beneath my fingers. Branches fold overhead, bending as if leaning closer. The moss seems alive, waiting, patient. I rise slowly, careful not to break the pulse beneath my hands. The symbols glow softly, breathing in rhythm with the quiet forest. Fog curls around my legs, brushing damp shoes and cold skin. Shadows ripple across moss and roots. I step back, brushing leaves from my hands. The symbols continue to pulse faintly, hypnotic, alive. Branches sway gently above, a quiet motion in still air. The hum threads through the silence, soft and low. I walk forward slowly, careful, each footstep pressing into soft moss. The forest exhales around me, patient, ancient, observing. Shadows fold and stretch at the edge of vision. The symbols linger, glowing faintly, watching, pulsing. Leaves rustle lightly beneath me. The air tastes of earth and damp wood, heavy, insistent. I sense a presence just beyond sight, gentle, patient, waiting. The forest hums softly, alive and subtle. I step onward, slow, deliberate. The symbols fade gradually beneath moss and shadow. Fog curls higher, brushing my shoulders. The hum threads through the clearing, fading into silence. I move forward, aware of every shadow, every pulse, every breath. The trail stretches ahead, soft and pale beneath fog and tree. The forest exhales quietly, ancient, calm, watching. I continue, leaving the moss-covered symbols glowing faintly behind me. The trail opens to a small clearing. Mist curls along the edges, brushing wet leaves and mossy stones. A faint scent of smoke lingers in the air. Alone, yet the forest feels alive, patient, watching. A campfire burns in the center, small and steady. The flames flicker, pale orange against silver fog. I step closer, soft footsteps pressing into damp earth. Sparks rise from the fire, floating upward, vanishing before they reach the sky. I pause, sensing movement around me. Shadows twist along the edges of the clearing, curling, folding. I hear whispers in the fog, words I can't understand. The air tastes cold and metallic, damp with moss and smoke. I kneel slightly, letting fingertips brush the warm embers. The fire hums faintly, soft, insistent. Shadows stretch and fold, reaching toward me in quiet, deliberate rhythm. Mist brushes. My ankles, cold and gentle. I rise slowly. The sparks lift again, curling and vanishing like tiny glowing spirits. Branches overhead sway, though no wind moves them. The whispers thread through the fog, low and patient. I step closer, careful, each movement slow. The fire flickers toward me, responsive, alive. Shadows twist around trunks and roots, bending with impossible angles. The air hums faintly, taste of smoke and damp earth heavy on my tongue. I kneel again, watching the fire pulse softly. Sparks drift upward, folding into mist and shadow. The whispers grow subtle, almost melodic. Leaves rustle gently beneath, unseen. Steps arise, brushing wet moss from my hands. The campfire burns still, small and patient. Shadows fold along the edges, curling closer, bending toward the light. The mist presses against my skin, soft and alive. I step back slowly, aware of every movement, every flicker. The fire continues to burn quietly, yet sparks vanish before my eyes. The whispers linger, teasing, unintelligible, patient. The forest exhales softly, ancient and still. I move forward, careful, leaving the clearing behind. The campfire glows faintly in my peripheral vision. Shadows stretch, folding, twisting, watching. I walk on, the whispers fading, but the feeling of eyes following remains. The sparks vanish completely. The campfire seems smaller, distant, almost unreal. Mist curls around the clearing, brushing soft against my arms. I continue along the trail, carrying the memory of flame and whisper. The forest narrows, trees bending closer, heavy with fog. The ground is damp, moss pressing soft beneath my shoes. Air tastes of wet pine and cold stone. Alone, yet the forest feels alive, breathing quietly. Soft whispers brush my ear. Urgent, delicate, impossible to understand. I spin slowly. Nothing moves. Mist curls along branches, brushing my shoulders. Shadows stretch, folding into one another, slow and deliberate. The whispers thread through the fog, gentle yet insistent. I taste damp earth and hear my own shallow breath. I step forward carefully. The forest exhales, in rhythm with me, patient, guiding. Leaves tremble beneath unseen steps. The whispers rise slightly, urgent, teasing, pulling me onward. I pause, listening. Branches sway, though no wind moves them. Shadows fold and shift along the trail, impossible angles, patient. The mist presses softly against my face and arms. I move again, slow, deliberate. Whispers brush closer, warm against my neck, cold in. Their insistence. The forest seems to breathe with me, alive, patient, watching. Air tastes faintly metallic, heavy with quiet warning. I glance around, heart steady, senses alert. Shadows twist in rhythm with the whispers. The fog curls higher, brushing soft across the trail. The forest feels aware, guiding or leading me. Astray. Leaves rustle underfoot, soft and deliberate. The whispers thread through the mist, impossible to catch. Branches sway above, reaching, folding, subtle and patient. The air tastes damp, earthy, alive. I step forward slowly. The forest exhales in sync with my movements. Whispers linger, brushing past, fleeting, urgent. Shadows shift, folding along roots and moss, patient and waiting. I move with careful steps. The trail stretches into fog, soft and pale beneath the trees. Whispers curl around me, brushing ears and neck, insistent. The forest breathes with me, ancient, calm, yet aware. I continue onward, soft, deliberate, every sense alert. Shadows fold and twist at the edges of vision. The whispers fade slightly, lingering just beyond hearing. The forest exhales quietly, patient, guiding, or leading me further into mystery. The trail narrows, fog curling thick and cold around the trunks. Moist earth presses softly beneath my shoes. The air tastes faintly of wet moss and smoke. Alone, yet the forest feels aware. Patient, waiting. Pairs of glowing eyes appear through the mist. Silent, pale, circling with careful rhythm. I hold my breath. They vanish when I blink, leaving only empty fog. Shapes move between the eyes, bending strangely. Almost human, almost not. Branches sway subtly overhead, though the air is still. The fog thickens, a wall pressing in, soft and wet against my skin. I step forward slowly. Rustling underfoot echoes, muffled by dense mist. Eyes reappear, shifting, circling, patient. The shapes fold between them, impossible, deliberate. I pause, fingertips brushing damp leaves. The fog presses closer, heavy and cold. Whispers curl. Along the trail, unintelligible, urgent yet soft. The forest exhales quietly, in rhythm with my cautious steps. Shadows stretch between the eyes. They twist and fold along roots, along trunks. The shapes bend, slow, deliberate. The air tastes metallic, damp, alive. I move again, soft, deliberate. Eyes flicker in and out, watching, patient, almost sentient. Branches shift above, though no. Wind moves them, The fog hums faintly, a subtle vibration against my ears. I pause, breath shallow. The eyes circle silently, pairs glimmering like pale lanterns. Shapes fold between them, almost human, impossibly wrong. Mist presses wet against my cheeks, brushing my neck. I step carefully. Rustling leaves fold underfoot. The fog thickens further. Swallowing shapes, eyes, everything beyond a few steps. The forest exhales, patient, aware, ancient. I walk slowly, following no path, guided only by sensation. Eyes appear, vanish, always circling, always watching. Shapes shift and fold in rhythm with the mist. The air tastes damp and cold, carrying. Whispers I cannot understand. I move, deliberate, aware of every heartbeat, every shadow. Fog curls along my arms and legs, soft, pressing. Eyes flare briefly, then vanish into the mist. Shapes fold silently, impossibly, between their glimmering glow. The fog thickens completely. I am alone, yet not alone. Whispers drift along the damp air. Eyes, shapes, shadows all vanish when I stare, leaving only the wall of mist and the soft hum of the forest around me. The trees thin, but the fog thickens. Cold air brushes my cheeks, carrying the scent of damp earth. I pause, noticing shapes shifting just beyond the mist. A rusted gate stands alone, its metal eaten with time. No fence, no path leads to it. It leans slightly, silent, patient, as if waiting. I step closer. The ground feels soft beneath my feet, moss clinging to boots. A faint hum rises from the soil, subtle, vibrating through the fog. The gate creaks open slowly. No wind moves it. The sound is a whisper against the silence. It beckons, inviting. Deliberate beyond, shapes flicker just out of sight. Branches twist unnaturally, shadows folding between them. The fog coils, brushing my arms, damp and cold. I reach the threshold. Metal scratches softly against my palm. A hollow breath echoes along the trees. The shapes shift again. Almost human, almost something else. I feel their presence before I see them. Soft footsteps press into the moss, fleeting, vanished when I turn. I lean forward. The fog smells faintly of smoke and wet leaves. Shapes bend with the mist, curling around invisible lines. Playful, yet foreboding. A bird calls in the distance, hollow and broken. The gate sways slightly, alive, responding to my hesitation. I feel my heartbeat echo against the quiet, mingling. With the low hum of the forest, I step through. The mist coils tighter, damp against my skin. Shapes slide between trunks, silent, watching, patient. The rusted metal groans behind me. I glance back. The gate stands alone again, still leaning, still waiting. A shadow brushes the edge of my vision. I turn, nothing moves. The forest exhales, slow and steady. I breathe, careful, deliberate. Fog presses around me, soft as silk, wet as dew. I walk. Further, shapes fold in and out of the mist, never still, never gone. The air tastes of earth and cold metal, lingering against my tongue. The gate disappears behind a bend of trees, yet I feel it, humming faintly in the space where it stood. Waiting. I step softly, aware of every rustle underfoot. The mist wraps closer, curling along my boots, my sleeves, my neck. Shapes shift, folding, vanishing, always at the edge of perception. The forest is quiet, yet alive. The gate's hum lingers in the air, a thread of something forgotten, something patient. I feel its pull, a gentle warning, a strange curiosity. I leave the clearing slowly, careful not to disturb the silence. The fog thickens again, shapes vanish. The forest exhales softly, and the gate waits, always waiting. Moonlight seeps through the trees, pale and trembling. Fog drifts low, curling along the forest floor, wet and cool against my ankles. The air smells of damp pine and old earth. I walk slowly, each footstep soft against moss. Then I see her, a figure, pale and still, standing where moonlight pools. Skin glows faintly, almost unreal. She doesn't move, doesn't speak. The forest feels heavier around her. Shadows stretch longer, folding into the fog. I notice the silence, almost a presence pressing against my ears. I breathe, careful. The scent of cold metal and dry leaves drifts with the fog. Soft rustling branches whisper, though no wind stirs them. She tilts her head slightly. Eyes catch mine, bright and unwavering. A chill creeps down my spine, but curiosity roots me to the spot. The ground beneath me is damp, squishing faintly with every step. Her glow reflects in puddles, rippling like disturbed water. Shapes twist at the edges of the fog, watching, folding away when I blink. I step closer. The fog coils around my ankles like fingers. Her gaze follows, silent, heavy. I hear a denner faint hum, low and vibrating, as if the forest itself is breathing with her. Branches sway, though the air is still. A leaf brushes my arm. Cold, wet, fleeting dot. I stop. The hum shifts slightly darker, colder. The earth smells faintly of smoke. I feel drawn and afraid all at once. Her presence folds into the mist. Shadows cling to her outline, stretching unnaturally. I notice every detail, the pale curve of her face, the stillness in her fingers, the way the fog clings to her like a cloak. I want to step back, but my feet feel heavy, rooted to the moss and fall in needles. The hum deepens, vibrating through my chest. She does not move, yet the air shifts as if she exhales. I smell faint flowers, almost decayed, almost sweet. Something watching circles silently around the trees. I reach out, almost instinctively. The fog coils tighter, brushing my skin. A shiver runs from my neck to my toes. She remains silent, glowing faintly, unwavering. The forest seems to pulse with her, heartbeats sinking to mine. Shapes flit in the periphery, almost human, almost not. A distant owl calls, hollow, broken. The fog swirls around her, folding in on itself, revealing glimpses of the earth beneath. Soft footsteps echo, though I am alone. I step backward. The air feels thicker, heavier, pressing against my chest. The glow from her skin dims, then brightens again, slow and breathing. I feel the forest lean toward her, watching, waiting. The hum fades, leaving only a deep, empty silence. I taste iron and cold earth on my tongue. I blink. She is still there. Moonlight touches her skin, pale and unmoving. I turn, finally, and step away. The fog swells behind me, carrying her presence with it. Shadows fold and stretch as if sighing. I breathe, careful, deliberate. The forest exhales around me, heavy and quiet. Her gaze lingers, even as I fade into the mist. Moonlight drifts through bare branches, silver on damp earth. Fog curls low, brushing my ankles, carrying the scent of wet moss and stone. The night is quiet, but heavy, like it holds its breath. I walk slowly, noticing the crunch of dead leaves underfoot. A circle of stones appears ahead, faintly glowing in the pale light. The glow is soft, almost alive, pulsing like it knows I'm here. Shadows shift around the stones. They stretch long and thin, folding into shapes that feel deliberate, careful. The air hums faintly, vibrating against my chest and through my fingertips. I step closer, careful. The ground smells of damp soil, of smoke long gone. A soft rustle brushes the fog, though nothing stirs. Shapes move around the circle. They rise and fold like dancers, almost ritualistic, almost not. I blink, and the figures hesitate, frozen in the mist. A chill drifts over my skin. The hum grows low and steady, wrapping around my shoulders. I notice small movements, leaf twitches, a branch bends, unseen. The stones are rough beneath my touch. I kneel beside one, feeling the pulse in its mossy surface. Cold, alive, and waiting. The shadows lean closer. Shapes emerge, pale and twisting, as if aware of my presence. I hear whispers all, perhaps it is only the fog moving. The hum deepens, vibrating in the soles of my feet. Air smells faintly of iron and wet bark. A soft footstep echoes, though I am alone. I rise, hesitating at the circle's edge. The glowing stones pulse, casting light on faces that aren't mine. Shapes fold into the fog, circling, dancing, attentive. I feel the night pressing closer. Breath hangs in clouds, visible in the cold, mingling with the mist. A rustling above mimics my heartbeat, synchronous, subtle. I step forward. The glow intensifies. Slightly, as if sensing my curiosity, shadows lean and bend, folding around the circle like a living web. The hum threads through the forest. It is quiet, yet all-encompassing, vibrating through my chest and spine. I feel watched, felt, understood, or warned. I kneel at the edge again. Touching the cool stone, I taste fog and earth, metallic and damp. Shapes fold and stretch, almost whispering, almost breathing with me. I pause, the air hums, the fog breathes. The circle is alive in its silence, patient, ancient. I step back slowly. Shadows cling to the glowing stones. They fold into the mist, moving without sound, leaving the circle pulsing softly. I breathe. The night exhales around me, heavy with energy and quiet wonder. The stones glow faintly, a heartbeat in the dark, and I walk away, careful, leaving the circle to its moonlit vigil. Fog curls behind me. Shadows linger, patient, waiting, as the forest swallows my steps. Fog coils low, curling around my ankles. The forest smells damp, earthy, metallic. Night presses down, heavy and quiet. Trees bend unnaturally. Branches stretch, toward me, pale in moonlight. They arch and twist, like hands reaching for something just out of reach. I step carefully. The ground squishes beneath my boots, soft, cold, damp. Leaves rustle, though the air is still, murmuring under unseen weight. I pause. Branches sway slowly, tracing shapes in the fog. Shadows fold between them, stretching long and thin. A chill brushes my neck. The fog thickens, swallowing sounds, muffling my breath. I feel trapped, yet calm as though guided. Shapes drift in the corners of my eyes. I glance back, nothing moves, yet the sensation of being watched lingers. Branches bend closer, almost. Human, almost not. The hum of the forest rises, low and steady. Air tastes of moss and cold stone. My heartbeat matures the sway of the trees. I reach forward, touching rough bark. It feels alive, pulsing faintly under my fingers. The fog clings, soft and wet, threading through my hair. Shadows twist along the trunks. Light flickers between the branches, revealing fleeting shapes. I blink, they vanish, leaving only silence. I step deeper into the hollow of trees. The air grows heavier, scented with wet leaves and faint smoke. Branches curve around me, forming paths that seem deliberate, patient. A soft breath stirs my cheek. I shiver, feeling the forest's pulse in the soles of my feet. Branches hover closer, hands without fingers, moving as if sensing my path. I walk slowly. Each step presses into fog that resists, curling back around my ankles. The forest exhales, quiet, pressing, guiding. The moon filters through the canopy. Pale light glints off wet bark, tracing shapes that feel like symbols. Branches sway, shadows. Folding into shadows, I pause again. The forest hums, almost like a whisper I cannot hear. My skin tingles with unseen energy. I reach the center of the path. Branches arc overhead, forming a hollow ceiling. Fog swirls, thick and deliberate, wrapping. Around me, holding me, a calm settles. Despite the strange shapes, the twisting hands of the trees, I feel watched but not threatened. The forest moves with me, shifting, guiding, breathing around me. I step forward, following the unseen path. The fog parts slowly, revealing more twisted. Branches ahead. Shadows stretch, pale and patient, waiting in quiet rhythm. The night hums through the hollow. I inhale wet, earthy air, tasting moss and damp wood. Branches reach closer, bending like hands, almost guiding, almost warning. I move, slowly, deliberately, letting the forest lead. Footsteps soft against sodden earth, echoing faintly in the mist. The shapes fold, bending, twisting, forming a path that feels alive, and I follow. Branches arch overhead, hands in fog. The forest breathes with me, patient, strange, guiding me. Deeper into silence. Fog drifts low, curling around gnarled roots. The night smells of wet earth and cold stone. Mist clings to my skin, damp, heavy dot voices float on the air. Soft, distant, calling names I don't know. They twist through the trees, almost close enough to touch. I step forward. Branches scrape. My arms, rough, cold. The fog swallows the ground, hiding my feet. Shapes flit through the mist. They vanish when I look too long. Almost human, almost shadow. Silence falls, heavier than before, pressing against my chest. The forest breathes slowly, rhythm steady, unbroken. A shiver runs up my spine. I taste damp leaves, metallic and sweet, on my tongue. The whispers return, closer now, brushing my ears. I spin, flashlight trembling. Nothing moves in the beams. Only shadows, folding into the fog. A branch snaps overhead. Leaves flutter down like frozen rain. Shapes shift, just beyond the pale light, teasing my eyes. I inhale sharply. The mist fills my lungs, cold and wet. Voices drift again, soft, insistent, calling names I cannot answer. I move slowly, boots sinking. Into the mud. Each step echoes faintly, swallowed immediately by fog. The shapes twist and vanish, leaving only silence in their wake. The air hums faintly, almost musical, almost sad. I reach toward a shadow. It dissolves, leaving a bitter chill. Against my fingers, I pause, standing alone. The fog presses closer, a wall around me. I taste moss and damp wood, feel wet leaves cling to my sleeves. Voices swirl, circling, whispering regret I cannot name. A faint breath brushes my cheek, flitting as wind. The forest watches, patient, indifferent, haunting. I step again, guided by nothing. Shadows flit between trees, bending and folding like living smoke. I feel their gaze, quiet, empty, yet full of something I cannot grasp. Silence returns, heavier now, dense, wrapping around my shoulders. The fog moves with it, curling, pulling, waiting. I breathe slowly, tasting damp earth and the faint, metallic tang of forgotten things. Footsteps vanish in the mud behind me. Nothing follows, nothing lingers. Yet I am not alone. The voices fade, leaving hollow echoes. Mist drifts through the branches, soft and deliberate. I feel the forest sigh, along. Quiet release. I step forward, into the grey. Shapes twist in peripheral sight, vanishing as I reach. The forest hums, still and patient, as if marking time with me. Alone, I follow the echoes. Names I cannot know, whispered warnings I cannot heed. The fog thickens, pressing, guiding, holding me in the quiet weight of lost things. The trail widens. Pale light drifts through the branches, soft and thin. It washes over the clearing ahead, turning leaves silver. The air is still. No rustle of wings, no whisper of wind. Even my breath feels loud, harsh against the quiet. I step forward. The ground is cool beneath my boots, damp with dew. Mist curls around my ankles, clinging, soft, insistent. Something shifts behind me. A subtle movement, a shadow where none should be. I turn, nothing. Only trees, frozen and watching. Yet I feel it, the weight of unseen eyes pressing close. The clearing opens fully now. Light spreads like pale water across moss and stone. It smells faintly of smoke, charred wood, something lost. I pause. The silence thickens, curling around my chest. It hums faintly, like static in the bones. A twig snaps far behind me. I blink. The world tilts, subtly, unnaturally. Shadows bend, stretching like fingers across the clearing. Shapes shift at the edge of my vision, almost human, almost not. The forest exhales, long and slow. I move. My hands brush wet leaves, cold and rough. The fog curls around me, trailing, following, guiding. I hear footsteps echo soft, measured, just behind. But when I spin, there is nothing. Only the pale light, swallowing everything it touches. I try to call out. My voice fails, swallowed by the hush. The air tastes faintly metallic, like forgotten things. The clearing feels endless. Even as I walk, the trees lean inward, enclosing me. Light scatters into shadow, fading and brightening in odd pulses. I kneel, touching moss that shivers beneath my fingers. A whisper grazes my ear. I can't make the words, out inly, the urgency, the warning. I stand again. The fog thickens, a wall now, soft and cold. The clearing seems to move, edges stretching. Beyond where I thought them, a branch creaks. I catch a glimpse of Machena figure just beyond vision. Eyes I cannot see follow me. The forest exhales again. I feel a pulse in the ground, subtle, rhythmic, like a heartbeat not my own. Silence returns, heavier this time. I breathe slowly. Mist drifts into my mouth, tastes of wet earth and iron. Each exhale hangs in the pale light like a fragile thread. The trail ends here, but the feeling does not. I sense the gaze that has followed me all this way. Not cruel, not angry, only present, waiting. I blink. The clearing tilts once more, the pale light shifting with it. Shadows curl like smoke, retreating and advancing in quiet rhythm. I step forward, uncertain. The forest holds me in place, patient, immovable. I am alone, yet not alone. The air hums faintly. Footsteps echo, vanish, echo again. The clearing breathes with me, silent, infinite, and unbroken. I stand in the pale light, still. The trail behind me has disappeared into mist. Ahead, nothing is clear, but I cannot stop moving. The forest waits. It waits with me, holding its secrets. In fog and shadow. And I realize, finally, the path may never truly end.